Hello Steelers, and welcome to this game of Chain of Command, or should I say, Cocking Up the Mud and the Blood, or should I say, Big Cocking Up the Mud and the Blood. Today I'm playing a game of Big Chain of Command, but First World War Chain of Command, Cocking Up the Mud and the Blood, which was covered in the 2014 Christmas special for the Two Fat Lardies. It's also in the Play the Game compendium as well of First World War things, and it basically just turns Chain of Command into a First World War game from 1917 onwards. I'm stretching it a little bit because today we are going to be playing the Canadian attack on the sugar refinery at Courcelette. This happened on the 15th of September 1916, part of the Battle of the Somme, and it was also the first time the tanks were used in the Battle of Flers-Courcelette. The 4th Canadian Brigade were attacking here with the 2nd Battalion on the 21st Battalion of the 2nd Brigade of the 4th Canadian Division. The Canadians were one of 10 British divisions that were attacking in this area between Flers and Courcelette, and I decided to do this because I was inspired by a drawing that I've seen of the Canadians attacking the sugar factory, the sugar refinery, so I wanted to put this on the tabletop, and that's what we're doing here today. The information I've got has come from Paul Reed's Courcelette, the Battleground Europe book, which has got a great map of the sugar factory in it, which I've used to basically to set up the table like this. And as I say, I'm going to play this as a Big Chain of Command, or Big Cock as it's also known, which means there are going to be 2 platoons of Canadians attacking, so 2 separate platoons against a single German defender. In the real attack, the Canadians cleared the area very quickly and were able to move on. So this is an attack-defend scenario from Chain of Command. Basically, one side or the other has to reduce the force morale of either. I'm not giving either side any supports in this. The Canadians actually had a tank in support with them, but it didn't actually catch up and came to the sugar factory after the infantry had already captured it and cleared it and got to the trenches on the other side of it. So we're not going to be using any tanks in this particular scenario. This is all an infantry, all infantry. So this is what it's going to be about. As I say, this should be an interesting game. I'm trying to show you I'm kind of bits of a mission this year, 2023, for showing that First World War gaming can be different. It doesn't have to just be trenches, and it doesn't have to just be this idea of stalemate. This is hopefully going to be a game of fire and manoeuvre, and hopefully it's going to be very interesting as well for you to watch. As I say, do check out the book, the Battleground Europe book by Paul Reed. A little bit more information about Courcelette and the fighting there in particular with the Canadians. And also, Big Chain of Command can be downloaded for free over at the Two Fat Lardies website. It doesn't change a huge amount from the actual game itself, just adds a couple of extra jumping off points for the units when you've got a couple of platoons. It's mostly about being able to add in armoured platoons and things to the game. So there's not a huge amount of change, but it just allows you to play a slightly bigger game than you normally would. Because I would normally play a game this size with Through the Mud and the Blood, because that allows several platoons to be on the table at once. Whereas Chain of Command is generally restricted just to that one platoon. This, like I said, first time I'm trying out Big Chain of Command, so it's going to be interesting to see how it works. Right, so what I'll do is I will show you the forces involved. I'll also show you the table as well, which the Canadians got to fight over. Then I'll do the patrol phase, and then we'll just get on with the game and see where we go from there. So here we have our opposing forces. These are on my platoon rosters that I made just before this game. The British are in their typical 1917 formations, because by this time, September of 1916, they were starting to form what would become SS 143. So I basically just used them as that. So we've got a rifle section, Lewis gun section, a rifle section, a bomber section, a rifle grenadier section, and then also a Lewis gun section as well. They've got a lieutenant and a sergeant in charge as their big men, and also a couple of runners as well, just in case, and scouts if they need them. As I say, I'm not giving anybody supports because the Canadians, although they had the tanks in the area, they just weren't able to catch up with the Canadians when they were actually attacking the sugar factory. So we're going to stay a little bit within history at that point. Over here on this side, just turn the camera over, we've got the German Zug. And again, this one is organised around the 1917 formation. I would have thought these are going to be second line German soldiers at this point anyway, or at least support line soldiers. So they may be a bit more battered, but I'm leaving them as a full platoon here. Only one platoon for the Germans. Again, no supports for them. So they have their lieutenant as their HQ, and then they've got 4 sections, 2 of which are made up of grenadier sections, so that's 8 rifles and 2 bombers, and then also an LMG section, which they've obviously stolen from the British, either prior to this to the battle or at some point earlier in the Somme campaign. And that's made up of 8 riflemen and then also an LMG team each. And each of these are led by a fighter as well. So quite large sections, but they are taking on 2 full platoons of Canadians. As I say, it's just going to be infantry on infantry, and we shall see how they get on with it. So here we have the area of the sugar refinery. So this is beet sugar, sugar beet should I say, which is still a big industry in that area of France today. There was various vats and processing plants and things in this area. So we've got the factory over here, one of the vats is there. We've also got, that is, I can't remember what it is exactly, of one another von der vats. There was a chimney stack here as well. The closest I had to a chimney stack was this building, ruined building with a chimney on it, so that'll do for that. And then also here we also had some more processing vats, and I put this in as a field. This is going to be impassable because these were very deep. It was actually also lined with hedges as well, and a couple of ponds down here, and then the back end of those were also lined by German trenches. So we've got some German trenches in the area, and another couple over here on this side as well. These weren't as well maintained as the front line trenches, which was stuff like Sugar Trench and a bit further forward down the line, but these were certainly, you know, still a formidable obstacle to the Canadians, but they did manage to sweep through. And obviously by the end of the fighting the place was absolutely wrecked, but as it is now, it's still just after that preliminary bombardment at 6:20 AM by the Canadian and British artillery that went in over the top. So this is our table that we're going to be fighting over. The Canadians are coming in here, 1 platoon on the left side and then 1 platoon over here on the right side. I have already done the force morale for both sides. The Germans have got 9 and both Canadian platoons have got 8 each, so 1 over here and then the other one over here as well. And then I've got the dice there, command dice for those. So that's how it looks. That's the table we're fighting over. Quite open, but there's probably plenty of scenery for the jumping off points, but let's just see what happens in that patrol phase. Okay, so that's the patrol phase done. Let me just quickly show you. So we've got a Canadian jumping off point here down by the hedges near the ponds. We've also got another one, unfortunately, right on the back end of the table here. Another one in the factory buildings, and then the third one, again, slightly further forward in those factory buildings. So they didn't actually get as far forward as they were hoping, but the Germans got 2. They were able to place one automatically in the trenches anyway, so they did, and then the second one on the end of the trenches here, so they can at least run across to try to get to those trenches. And then their third and final one was over here by the ponds, so again they're quite close to trenches and quite a lot of cover up there as well. The hedges, they can't be fired through until somebody fires through them, if that makes sense, unless you're up against them. So the Germans have placed their trenches behind that hedgerow, so they can fire through it, but they can't be fired at until they've fired from those trenches, just so you are aware of what is going on with that. Alright, so that's the patrol phase. What we'll do, we'll kick off. Both the Germans have got the highest force morale, so they're going to get the first turn anyway. So we'll start with their dice roll and see where we go. So, same as any chain of command game, they get their dice. So 6 on its own does nothing. They have got a chain of command point. There's a slight change in the First World War chain of command in that you can spend your chain of command dice on different things. Actually, they've got 2 there, so that's 2 points for the Germans. Then they've got a 2 and a 4, which is a section and a senior leader. I think immediately they are not going to do anything. We'll see what the Canadians do. So I'll just put those points on their chain of command dice. And then we'll see what the Canadians do. So I've got white dice for platoon 8. So let's have a look. They now have 2 chain of command points, so I'll put those straight on while I remember. That's 6, and he's doing nothing on its own. Then 2 senior leaders. They have a sergeant and a lieutenant. Don't think they're going to bring either of those on because there's no other men on the table yet, so they're probably going to pass their turn, but let's have a look. They do get a double turn though, so actually both of them have got 2 chain of command points and a senior leader, and that's double phase as well. So I'll just put those 2 chain of command points on platoon B, and then we'll start again. So in big chain of command, when you get a single double phase for any platoon, you get it for both of them. So this is going to be their second one. 3 chain of command points, that takes them up to 5 already. That's going to be good. And then they've got a 2 and a 3. That's a junior leader and a section, so that might just be bringing on some support ones. But let's have a look at what B get. They've got a 6 on its own, is doing nothing. They have another chain of command points. That's taking them up to 3 as well. So God, we're eating them up here. And then we've got a 3, a 4 and a 1. There are no teams, unfortunately, apart from the scouts and the runners. 4 is a senior leader, 3 is a junior leader, probably with a section. So I'm going to have a think about what I'm going to bring on, and I'll show you what's happened when I've got them on the table. So just to quickly go through what's happened there. The Rifle Grenadiers of Platoon A have come on. This is the section that they used. So they are here behind this hedge, out of line of sight at the moment. And they also brought on their LMG team as well, put them in the buildings here and put them on overwatch to cover this area as well. That was with the junior leader. Then the platoon B have brought on their Rifle Grenadiers and got them behind the chimney stack, again in a pretty good position, but because that was only a section, sorry, that was a section leader, but a junior leader, but they're just sitting waiting to see what happens, if anything happens, on the German lines. And speaking of those German lines, let's see what they do. Okay, we've got a 1, a 3, a 3, a 3 and a 4. So that they could actually bring on pretty much all of their platoon if they wanted to. But they're not going to. They're going to wait. So we're just going to hold back and see where the attack comes in and try to get the Canadians to show their hand more so. So they're just going to wait on. So we'll go back to the Canadians. Let's see what we get for these. So A have got another chain of command point. So that takes their chain of command points up to 6. So that's 1 full chain of command dice. They've got a 1, a 2, a 2. So that's quite a good spread again. That's could turn that into senior leaders or sections and junior leaders. Group platoon B have got a 5 and 2 4s and 2 2s. So senior leaders and sections. That might be maybe worthwhile bringing on a sergeant. Let's have a little think. Okay, let's see what's happened here. Well, we've the Canadians have put out their rifle group here, rifle section, and they are basically around this shell crater, so they're going to get light cover for that. They've gone to Overwatch because they've used a junior leader to do so. There's still no Germans out there. They've also deployed the grenade, the bombers as well into this shell crater here. So pretty much everybody apart from the lieutenant and the sergeant are currently on the table at the moment for platoon A. They're just waiting for those two to get forward to start the attack. They're in a good position, I reckon, but a little bit open open ground there that they're going to need to get through. Meanwhile, on this side, the sergeant has appeared, and this is Sergeant. Let's have a look. Don't actually know what his name is. It is. This one is Sergeant Frank Blackwall. He's appeared, and he's got in between the Rifle Grenadiers over here and also the Lewis team. He's put the Lewis team onto Overwatch, who have just deployed as well. So they deployed on a section roll, and then he put them onto Overwatch. And then we've also deployed the Rifle section as well to try to move around the VATS and up to this back end of this trench and hopefully take the Germans in the flank. Well, the sudden deployment of those Canadians might see the Germans spurt into life. Let's see what they get. Maybe not with that roll. They do get a chain of command dice. They've got 2 and 3 4s. Not great for them, actually, but I don't know, we might put a platoon on in the trenches. So yeah, the Germans have deployed a section on a section, but as I said, these can't actually be seen, although they can see the Canadians over there. They can see the rifles and the bombers as well. However, these can't be seen unless they fire, so I'm going to leave them. They're not actually going to fire because they don't want to give away their position just yet, but I want them on the table just in case for future turns. Well, let's see what the Canadians could do. I've just realised as well, Platoon A really should have pushed forward and got their jumping off point forward as well, but too late now. We've got everybody on the table, so you know, you live and learn. Alright, we've got 2 1s for them, 2 3s, this is Platoon A by the way, and 1 2, so quite a mix there, which is pretty good actually, because that means they can get their men up and moving. The Platoon B, 2 3s, 2 junior leaders, a 2, a 6, nothing, and a 5, a chain of command point. So I'm going to see what we can do with those, and we'll show you what happens. Okay, so Platoon A have brought on their sergeant. He's joined the Rifle Grenadiers, ready to get them to act. But then one of their junior leaders over here, he has pushed this section forward. They use 3d6 of movement, and then he reduced shock because they only took 1 shock because they are because it's only 1 section, not a team. And they're making their way up that hedge line. Meanwhile, the bombers also ran forward and got into this clump of bushes as well, ready to try to move forward against those Germans. Meanwhile, on the other flank, Platoon B, they have also pushed forward their rifles up here as well, past the VATS. And they've moved forward the LNG team as well to try to get into a position in the building in the centre there to cover fire as well. So they are pushing forward as much as they can. Well, let's see if the Germans can stop them laughing in church. We've got a chain of command point, a 4, which is their lieutenant, another 4, which is their lieutenant, they've only got 1, and then 2 3s, so that will be 2 junior leaders. So that means they could open fire with the chaps on the table already, and they might do that. I've actually decided with the Germans they're not going to do anything. They're going to hold. They're going to hold their fire and they're going to hold their position because the British, well, the Canadians have still got quite a big open area to get through. So let's hope this gamble plays off. Let's have a look. Oh, we've got a double face for the Canadians. Maybe it won't work. This is Platoon B, so they now have a full chain of command point dice. They've also got a 3 and a 2, which is section, and a junior leader in a section. And let's have a look at that platoon. Now these could spend a chain of command dice and then get 2 extra dice in their hand. I think they're going to, you know, so I'm going to take that off and then get 2 extra dice for this turn only, or this phase only. This is from the First World War version. You can add 2 command dice or take away a command dice from your opponent. So let's see, so they have retained the phase and ended the turn, so everybody comes off Overwatch anyway at the end of this phase. But that gives them 2 4s, a 1 and a 3, which is not brilliant, but they do have a sergeant on the table and they can bring their lieutenant on as well, so he can get them to do stuff as well. So let's see what happens with this. Alright, quite a bit of movement this turn. The sergeant's over here, he moved this section forward. Mind you, they only ran 3 inches, but then he's moved up himself and he's also reduced their shock as well that they took for moving 3 moves. However, the lieutenant also appeared over here as well, and he not only got the bombers to move forward, they ran forward, then they used their 3 on the junior leader to reduce that shock, so they're now quite close to those German trenches. Still can't fire at the Germans because they can't see them. But he also then got the LNG team to move forward as well here, and that's his. He was going to put those on Overwatch, but there's no point because this at the end of this phase, it's the end of the turn, and the Overwatch has come off anyway, so he's just left them as there is. Over on this side, on Platoon B, they have pushed forward their LNG team into the central building here. They're not on Overwatch, but they are in a good position to start firing should any Germans pop up. And then also they push forward their section as well of rifles. And remember, they now have a second phase. So let's go on to that and see what happens in that phase, and if the Canadians can push forward any further. So Platoon A is back down to its normal 5 dice, so they don't retain the phase, but they do both get a couple of chain of command points in here. So Platoon A get 1, also so does Platoon B. So that's 6 on its own is doing nothing. We've got a 3, a 2 and a 1, which is not brilliant for Platoon A, given where they are. However, slightly better for Platoon B. They've got 2 3 3s and a 4, which is probably about perfect for what they want, I think, at this point, but let's see what happens. Maybe the Germans have waited too long, but we'll see in the next phase, I think, because it is their turn. But meanwhile, the Canadians have pushed forward up this hedge here with this rifle section, and then they've pushed right up to the hedge with the bombers. They ran, so they were unable to attack, but they can at least see the Germans in those trenches, so as soon as they get a chance, well, they can't interrupt their turn because they've already spent their chain of command point. Chain of command dice, but they at least will be ready to attack in the next turn. Meanwhile, over here, this is where it's all happened. We've got the rifle section have moved forward. Again, they ran and then reduced shock, and they've got right next to the German jumping off point. I'll have to check if they're within 4 inch. I don't think they are. I think they're just outside of it. But we also got the LMG team onto Overwatch as well in the ruins over here, and then finally they spent their chain of command dice and moved forward the jumping off point from the factory over here, moved it right up to here because it's more than 6 inches away from the rifles, and then deployed their bomber and lieutenant together on the other side of this ruin. So at least they've leapfrogged forward now, and they are again close to that German flank. So as I say, the Germans may have waited a little too long, but we'll see. They might come back with a strong counter-attack, and we'll see what happens in their phase. Right, the Germans are going to have to act quick now because the Canadians are almost on them. Let's just see. 6 does nothing. They do have 2 chain of command points. That takes them up to a full chain of command dice, so that's pretty good. So they can use that to reduce the dice of the Canadians on the next one. And then they've got 2 3s, so that is 2 junior leaders. Well, I think they're going to open fire and probably even deploy somebody. Okay, so the Germans have deployed this LMG group here, who are going to fire at the rifles as they're coming in. But they're also, before that, they're firing with their bombers here in the trenches at the British there. They're going to be in light cover because they're behind those hedges. These are in the open. So we're going to start with the bombers anyway. So this is 7 rifles and also 2 bombers. So they're throwing theirs as well, so for an extra couple of dice. So they're all close. So we're actually hitting on a 4 up. So let's just see. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits on those Canadians. They are, as I said, in light cover, so they're going to be saving on 6 is a kill, 4 5 is shock for them. So let's just see what happens. So we've got 1 kill and also 2 shock. Quickly put that shock on there. Is that kill on their junior leader, on their corporal? 1 it is. No, it isn't. So it's just 2 of the men. So we'll just take 2 off at random there. Okay, that was that firing. Not as good as it could have been. Anyway, the next one, this time they are firing with the LMG team down here, or group should I say, and these are firing at these ones in the open. Same again, 4's up. Actually I'm going to fire that LMG separately because that's firing 6 dice, and that is going to be, because I need to see if it jams or not. So first of all, we'll fire them all together. If it rolls more 1s than 6s, and that's blue, then it says jammed. It has rolled more 1s and 6s, so the LMG is jammed, but it has hit 1, 2, 3 hits. So I'm just playing this the same as you would in Through the Mud and the Blood. But let's have a look at the other hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits from them. So that's 6, 7, 8 in total. Against those ones in the open. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits. 5, 6 are kills this time. So let's see. Ooh, nowhere near as good as it could have been. So that's 2, 4, 5, 6 shock. That's a lot of shock though, to be fair. But they haven't killed a single man and their gun is jammed. So that was a firing for the Germans, or their turn at least, their phase. So we go back to the Canadians and let's see what they get. The Germans have got a full chain of command dice, so they can interrupt the turn if they want. Let's see what we've got here. So A have got a 6, a 1, 2 3s and a 4. So that's junior leader, senior leader and a team. The team is relatively useless, but they can turn it into a senior leader at least. And they've got a 6 on the other side, and this is B, platoon B, a 2 and 2 3. So that's actually probably worked out pretty well for them. So I'm going to think about what they're going to do with those. That's quite a lot to play with. Right, let me show you what the Canadians have done, because that was a wee bit complicated. Right, first of all, their sergeant has ordered the rifle grenadiers to fire. They're going to do that in a second. Then he used his one of his command initiative to move further forward. He then ordered the rifle unit to move forward, and they're closing in on that German jumping off point over here by the ponds. However, the action is hotting up in the centre here, because what has happened over here is the lieutenant of platoon A has moved the the LMG team forward, or the LMG section forward. Also over here we've got the bombers have moved forward. They just move forward on a section turn. On the other side, their lieutenants over here reduced shock by 2, and then first of all their corporal reduced shock by 2, and then the lieutenant came up and joined them and then reduced another 2 off their shock, so they're down to 2. They can't fire because they've got no activations to do so. They can't fire because they moved. Then we're going to use that last corporal to use with the bombers to attack the Germans in a trench, and he's also reduced shock. However, before that happens, what I'm going to do first of all is the Germans are going to interrupt the turn. I've moved everybody to where they need to be, and the Germans are going to interrupt the turn, and they are going to fire at those bombers before they begin their attack. I don't know if is it better to fire with the LMG team over here at the this lot who are in the open? Yes, it is actually. They're going to. I'm going to change that, and they're going to fire over here at these. So we'll set that up, and then we'll do the bombing attack and also that rifle grenade attack as well over here. Okay, so first of all, we're going to start with the LMG team firing at the LMG Zug, firing over here, at the bunch of Canadians here. Remember that the LMG is it's actually jammed. So the way we do this is I'm doing it as the same as in Through the Mud and the Blood. It normally fires 6 dice. We roll a dice until we get a 5 or a 6, then it becomes unjammed. So first one, it's unjammed, and then it fires with what is remaining. So that's going to be 5 dice. I'm rolling them separate again to see if it jams again, more 1s and 6s. So let's just see what happens with that. It hasn't rolled more 1s and 6s, but we're hitting on 4s up. So we've got 1, 2, 3. They did such a bad show last time of it. They really need to pick this up. So that's 5 hits. Remember, there is a lieutenant as well in that group over there. So we've got 5 hits on the Canadians there in the open. 5 6s are kills. 4 5 is shock this time. So that's more like it. 3 kills and 2 shocks. That puts their shock back up to 4. And then we've got those 3 kills. So they are. Well, let's see if it is on one of the big men, or the leaders as they're known in chain of command. 1 to a 3, yes, it's hit one of them. 1 to 3, it's the junior leader. 4 to 6, it's the lieutenant. It's the lieutenant. What's happened? Well, I'll just take off 2 rifles first of all, because we know that they've bit the dust as well. What's happened to him? A 1, and he is killed. 6, no, he has been wounded. That's still a bad things happen. So actually he's knocked out until the end of the round, isn't he? That's 5 no, he's lightly wounded, sorry. It's a 2 or a 3, he's knocked out. So just put that on there, but it's still a bad things happen for them. And they've also taken two kills as well there. Right, so let's first of all roll for that bad things happen. This is a senior leader wounded. Where we got that? So we roll first up a 5. That is -2 points off Company B, Platoon B's force morale. So that drops them down to 6. Oh, they're going to have to act quick to pull back, I think, on this one. Then the next thing is the rifle grenades. Because it's their first turn firing, they only fire half their effect. Again, I'm taking that from Through the Mud and the Blood. So it's 2 dice per rifle grenade, so normally it will be 16, but I'm halving it, like I say, so this is down to 8. They are hitting on effective range, so they are actually hitting on a 5 or a 6, but they do reduce cover, so they've actually hit 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's over the odds. And they're reducing cover, so they are in heavy cover, so that would be that takes it down to light cover, so that means that they are killing on a 6 but shocking on a 4-5. So let's see, so we've got 1 kill and also 2 shock in there on those Germans straight up. And then we are going to move, sorry, it was, yes, there was a kill as well, wasn't there? So roll for that. Is it the leader? No, it isn't, it's just one of their men, so we'll take one of those off. And then we've also got the grenades, the bombers coming in, and the rifles. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grenades. They are rolling, I think it's 1, maybe 2, no, 2 dice each, so that's going to be 10 dice, because these are nasty as well. We've also got a rifle as well. These are firing at close range, they're just on the edge of close range, well, up to 11 inch. So yeah, they also, 2 firepower in the open, 3 in confined spaces. I'm going to call it in the open because these trenches aren't deep trenches. And then we roll for hits as in the open. So the red dice is the 2 riflemen. They're hitting on 4s up. Everybody's hitting on 4s up. The rifles are missed, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits from those grenades, and hitting is in the open. So let's see, 5, 6 of the kills, 4, 5 shock in this case. So that's 2 kills and 2 shock as well. So we'll put that shock up. Those 2 kills, are they going to be on their junior leader? So look, 1 or 2. No, it's not. So again, it's 2 more of the rifle lads. So that was the Canadians. Let's see what the Germans can do now. We've got a chain of command point, which they need. 6 does nothing on its own. A 3 junior leader, a 4 and a 4. So that's a senior leader and a senior leader. Not great, but they could always put their senior leader on and another junior leader, I think. Alright, the Germans have just deployed, they deployed this section with their junior leader. They are just literally going to go straight into close assault with the bombers there, try to wipe them out. Then they're deploying their senior leader who has reduced shock. He's going to get them to do something, depends on what happens here, and then also get this section, this Zug as well, to fire over here as well. So we're going to try first of all with the close combat. So what we do is we add up 1 for each of the men in the battle. So I'm going to take for the British, we've got 1, Canadians, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So starting with 6, and the Germans have got 10. Whether they win this or not is, I don't know. It's always hard to tell with close combat in chain of command. Then we add 1d6 for the command initiative level of each of your leaders. Both of them only got a junior leader in each, so that's just 1 dice each extra. Then we have 2d6 for the troop quality. They're both the same. 1d6 for each d6 of movement the enemy moved. They didn't move any because they just deployed and jumped straight in. Subtract 1 for each shock, each 2 points of shock. There isn't. There's no aggressive troops, no trench brooms, but there is a d6 for each bomber present. The Germans have got 2, so they get an extra 2. The British have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so they get, I keep saying British, I mean Canadian, they get another 5. There's no LMGs that the defender has. They neither are defending light cover because they've just popped out on their flank basically. So that's pretty much it. So we've total up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 for the Canadians, and let's see, 2, 4, 6, 12, 13 for the Germans. So they've just got a slight advantage here for the Germans. 5 sixes of kills with 6 causing shock. So this is the Canadians. Let's see, we've got that's 2 shock and 4 kills in total. Meanwhile, the Germans have caused 2 shock, 4, 5 kills. So they've won by 1. So let's get that shock on first of all, and we can see if any of these kills are on leaders or not. So the Germans took 2 as well. So that's there. And so let's have a look. So we got so it was 3 shock on the British, on the Canadians. So that goes up to 4, not 2. No, it isn't. What am I on about? Sorry, I'm tired. So yeah, it's still on 3. They only took 2 shock, but they took 5 kills, whereas the Germans took 4. So let's roll for those. So first of all, Germans, is it on their junior leader? No, it isn't. So it's 4 of their men. So I'm just going to take off 4 rifle lads. And the British, they took 5 kills. Is it on the junior leader? No, it isn't. So they lose 5, which is pretty much everybody, apart from 1. So they are forced back because they've lost by 1. I think they're forced back 6 inches. But they've also broken as well, I believe. Let me just check that in the book. So yeah, they are immediately thrown back 6 inches, but facing the enemy. So put them back here. However, because they have taken double... no, they haven't taken double shock. They're just pinned actually, so they're not broken, but they are thrown back. So that's it. It was a German win. They've cleared them out. So because of that result, the senior leader still has deployed, but he's reduced their shock by another 1, trying to get that down and not doing anything else with them. But then he's getting these to fire over here, so he's reduced 2 shock and then getting these to fire at the attackers over here. So blue is the LNG, more 1s and 6s, and it is jammed. It is jammed yet again. Let's just see how many hits we've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 hits, which is maybe more than they need. So let's have 6 hits and a jam gun. So 5 sixes are kills. So look, we've got 1, 2 kills and also 2 shocks. That takes their shot back up to 6. God, they're not having a good time of it. And 1 or 2, is it their lieutenant? No, it isn't. It's a couple of their rifles. Okay, is that Canadian attack starting to break down? They're going to need some good dice rolls here, but let's just see what happens. Put that in as well. Well, they've got 2 6s there. That was cocked. It had gone to a 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these ones out and I'll re-roll that because it was cocked. So we've got 2 6s, so they retained the phase at least. So we've got a 2 2s, 2 1s, and a 4 for platoon B, and then those 2 6s, so they're retaining the phase, and then also a 3 and a 4 for them, and also I'm going to re-roll that one because, as I say, it was cocked. Another 6, so that's 3, so that actually ends the turn. So that takes anybody on Overwatch off Overwatch at the end of this turn, and anyone who's broken, who isn't yet, flees the table. Right, because we were on that end of the turn, the Canadians have moved forward onto that jumping off point here, using a 2 just to get that section up and onto that jumping off point. So at the end of this phase, that will disappear. They've also been reducing shock, but they're firing as well. I'll show you what happened there. Because the Canadians know they've got that second turn with second phase coming up, and this is the end of the turn, they've reduced shock over here with the lieutenant, and nothing else has happened. Then the lieutenant's over here. They've also reduced shock on these as well, so they will no longer be pinned after the end of this phase. And then they're getting the lieutenant as open fire with the section over here on the Germans in the open. So the reds are the LMG, it's an LMG section. Blue is rifles. Obviously more 1s and 6s on the red is jam. There's not more 1s and 6s, so let's just see how many we've hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
8, 9, 10, 11 hits in total on those Germans in the open. I don't think they're going to be here any very long, to be honest. So what do we say? 11 hits, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hits. This might be a force morale case, so let's just see. 5s and 6s are kills, otherwise 3, 4 is shock. Well, I spoke too soon. That's 1, 2, 3 kills. And how much shock? 2, 4 shock. So that takes them up shock up to 6, but it might make them force them back at least. We'll just see. Those 3 kills, are any of those on that junior leader? 1, 2, 3 it is. No, it isn't, so it's 3 of the rifles and bombers. So we'll take those off. So they are actually, they've just broken because they are on 6 shock against 3 men. So yes, they've broken. So they will run away 2d6 plus 6 inches. Let's just see how far they get. That's 5 and 6. That's going to take them off the table. So that is a section broken. I'm going to have to do all their force morale right now. So we've got a section broken, and junior leader routed, and also a jumping off point as well has just been lost. So let's just see what happens with each one of those. I'll roll through each one of them. So first of all, section broken. The section breaks is, 1 second, let's roll for that. A 5 is minus 2 points off the Germans. That takes them straight down to 7. Then we've got junior leader routes from the table. This is never a good one. Let's have a look. A 4, that is another 2 points off. That drops them down to 5. And then we've also got that loss of the jumping off point. So let's see what that has. That is only 1 point off, but that's dropped them down to 5 and removes one of their command dice. So from what initially looked like a bit of a kicking for the Canadians after that close assault by the Germans, they seem to be back on form. So let's just see what happens with their dice for the next phase. So we got a 6, a 5, this is A, and then 3, 3, so that's 3 junior leaders, which is again pretty perfect for what they probably need at this point. Then B, they have got a 6, a 5, 2 1s and a 4, which is not brilliant, but nothing to be sniffed at. Okay, platoon A are firing their rifle grenades using a 3 at this group over here. The same section, same targets. This time they're doubling the amount, so it's 16 dice hitting on 4s up because it's always effective. Sorry, 5 6s, always effective for rifle grenades. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits. That reduces their cover. So it takes them from hard cover down to light cover, so that means they are killing on a 6, shocking on 4, 5. Let's have a look. Oh, only two shock, no kills. So that could have gone better. Then over here we've got our lieutenant. He is getting these 7 men to fire first of all the Germans in the open over here. Then we're going to see what happens and maybe charging the bombers to try to get into contact with them. So we're first of all just firing with those 7 rifles. Got 7 dice there. These are hitting on 4s up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. These are hitting in the open. So 5 6s are kills. 3 4 is shock. So that's 1 kill and 2 shock on those. So that's the first damage they've taken. And that 1 kill is it on the junior leader. Let's have a look. No, it isn't. So just 1 rifle. Now, do we send the bombers in as a charge against those? I don't know. It's a tough one, this one, isn't it? There. Let's just check, see how far away they are. Running around that corner there, they're 15 inches away, so they need to get 11 inch to get into close combat. They cause quite a lot of damage with those bombs if they do. Yeah, go on. They're going to go for 3 dice, so causing a shock. Let's have a look. 6 inches. So they can't actually do anything. They just literally blunder forward like lunatics. They were trying to finish off that turn there, so let's just see. 6 inches, that just brings them up to this gap here in the wire. So I'll just get them across, and then it's over to the Germans. That was a bit of a fumble on their part. The Germans then, with their 4 dice. So we have a 6, does nothing. 1, 5 is a chain of command point, but they do have their lieutenant, so at least they can do something. Okay, so the lieutenant has reduced shock over here because they need to, and then he's also getting these to fire as well. They're firing with an LMG and 6 rifles, well 7 rifles, but -1 because of the shock. LMG is jammed, so let's just see if it unjams. So it's 5s and 6s. First one, no. Second one, yes. So he gets another 4 shots. This time though, it's spread around all of those sections. So let's just see. Hitting on 4s up, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and there were more 1s and 6s for that LMG. So we've got 5 hits. So it's going to be 3 on one section, 2 on the other. The bombers are closer, so I'm going to put those 2 bombs. Well, it's up to them actually. They choose where they want them to go. So 3 hits they are going to put on this section. I think on the rifles, the one they've been picking away at. So 5s and 6s are kills. So we've got 1 kill on the rifles, 1 kill on the bombers, and a shock on each. So let's get that shock on first of all. Let's just see if we have hit any of those junior or senior leader in there. 1 or a 2, and it is. Let's have a look. 3, no it isn't. So it's just a kill on each of those guys. So this is turning into quite the desperate defence for the Germans at this point. Let's see. So platoon A, they've got a 6, they've got a 5, so that takes them up to 3 chain of command points. Then they've got a 4, a 2, and a 3, so that's not bad. Quite a reasonable mix probably for what they need at this point. And then platoon B, that's 3 6s. That ends a turn, retains the phase as well. So that's going to really impact on what they're doing. Then they've got 2 2s, which are 2 sections or a senior leader. So the Canadians have used a section here to clear the wire and get into the German trenches, at least on the German right flank. But then they're also doing quite a lot else as well. I'll show you what. Because it's the end of the turn, they've used the senior leader for platoon B to reduce the shock on the rifles and the grenades over here, and then they're going to use their lieutenant in section A to fire, and also their rifle grenades are also going to fire. Okay, so first of all, rifle grenades. Using a junior leader, they are firing at these Germans here. So let's see, hitting on 5s and 6s. 16 dice. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits. That's pretty good. That reduces shock, reduces cover, should I say. So that goes from hard cover down to light cover. So that takes them from 6 is a kill, 4, 5 is shock. Let's just see. We've got 1 kill and 1 shock. It's slowly chipping away at them, very slowly. Is that kill on their leader? Oh no, so a 4 there, sorry, so that's 2 shock. So that takes them up to 4 shock. And then 1, it's on the one of the leaders. No it isn't, it's another one of their rifles is off. Then we've got the LMG team and I think it's 9 rifles over there firing. Let me just count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rifles, yes, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rifles, plus that LMG. This is not jammed, so let's roll all these together. So these are hitting on 4s up as well, and there's not more 6s, there's not more 1s and 6s for the LMG. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hits in total on the Germans there. Clear that tray out. So 9 hits. This time they're in hard cover, so 6 is a kill, 5 is shot. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 2 shock, 2 kills. So that takes their shock up to 6. That's not enough to pin them. But let's see if that kill, 2 kills are on the junior or senior leader. Yes, it is. Hit one of them. 1 to 3 junior, 4 to 6 senior. It's hit the senior leader. What's happened to him? A 6, he is lightly wounded. So that's another bad thing's happened for the Germans. So let me just put that on him first of all. And then we also got another kill as well, didn't we? So I'll just take one of these off. And then so that's another bad things for that happen for the Germans. So this is a senior leader wounded. Let's just quickly check that. A 3 is another point off, so they're down to 3 now on their force morale. Ooh, not looking good for them. And the Canadians have got another phase coming up. Right, so let's roll these Canadian dice, see what we get. So platoon A, a 6 on its own does nothing for them. A 5 is a chain of command point though, so that takes them up to 4. And then they've got a 1, 3 and a 4, which is a pretty good mix. That could be 2 senior leaders, I think. And then we've also got over on this side a 5. That gives them a chain of command point. This is B, and then we've got 3, 2, 2 and a 1. So again, another good mix really. Probably just what they need, I think, at this point. Alright, we've got quite a bit going on this side of the table. First of all, Sergeant has moved up. He's then ordered the British in the trenches to fire down at the Germans over here in the trenches. They're going to be hitting, they're going to be in hard cover. And then they're going to use their lieutenants as well over here, and he is firing with the LMG team, LMG section at these as well. So we're going to start with the rifles first up, hitting on 4s up. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits first of all, and as I say, these are going to be in hard cover, so these are killing on 6, shocking on 5s. So we've got 1 kill, 2 shock, so let me stick that shock on them first of all, so that takes them to 8. We'll have to work out how that leaves them from a pinned point. I think they might be pinned at this point. And a kill, is it on their junior or senior leader? No, it isn't, so it's one of their rifles. We'll take that guy off there. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 men, 8 shock, so they're okay at the moment. 1 more shock and they are going to be they'll be pinned. So now it's 9 rifles and also 6 from that LMG. LMG again, more 1s and 6s it jams. It's got more 1s and 6s, so it has jammed, but how many hits? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits in total. Same again, that's going to be, they're going to be in hard cover. So let me just swap these around. So 6 is kills, 5 is shock. 2 more kills, but no shock. Is it on a junior or senior leader? 1 or a 2? Yes, it is. Which one is it? 1 to 3 junior, 4 to 6 senior. It's a junior leader this time. What has happened to him? We roll again, 6. He is wounded, so that is another bad thing's happened for the Germans. So let's roll that. Let's take off one of their fellas. Just knock him over before I get another marker for him. So yeah, there's another bad thing's happened. They're already down on 3 on their force morale at this point, so they're getting a bit hammered. So let's see, junior leader wounded. 6, oof, that's another 2 points. They are down to 1 point now on their force morale. This is almost over bar the shouting, I think. Okay, so we've got a couple of things over here to do. First of all, the LMG team has moved forward. They moved 3 dice and they got to that shell crater, so they're in light cover, but they're taking a shock. Then we are firing using a section to fire the rifle grenades from B company, first time B platoon, first time they've actually fired in anger, and they're going to fire at these. It's their first shot, so they're halving their dice as we did before with the others. So it's these ones in the open. They're hitting on 5s and 6s. Let's see, 1, 2 hits on those first of all. So that's going to be in the open. 5, 6s kill, 3, 4 shock. So that's 2 kills. Is it on their junior leader, 1 or a 2? No, it isn't. So it's on 2 of their guys, but no shock on them. Then we have the lieutenant over here is using his 4. He's going to get the rifles to fire and then at them, and then the bombers are going to charge in again, try to. So we're going to go, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rifles here are firing, and these are hitting on 4 up. So that's 3 hits, as to be expected. Killing on 5 or a 6, shocking on 4, 5. So that's 1 shock on those. It's not great, but it might be enough just to charge in. And remember that their LMG is also, I think it's jammed again, isn't it? So they are now going to, he's also ordering the bombers to go in as well. before they attack. So, do we go for 2 dice or 3 dice? Let's go for 3 dice and take that shock. So that is 6 inches. Does that put them just within 4 inches, I think, of the enemy? So that, yes, just enough. That's going to be enough for them to get into close combat. So the Canadians have just got 1 more dice. They've got 13 against the 11 of the German. So let's roll those, see what happens. Well, that looks healthy. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kills from the bombers. Blimey. And how many shock? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shock. So let me quickly put that shock on there. That's going to take them, I think that's going to break them if nothing else. So there's the shock. That's taking those Germans up to 8. Let's see what the Germans do in... But they've also lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 men. One of which is going to be the junior leader. So let me just see if that is actually, that's all of them. That's the entire group wiped out. But let's just see what they did in response. 2, but 2 shock as well. So put that shock on. Is that hit on their junior leader? 2, yes it is. What's happened to him? 6, he is wounded. He's lightly wounded though, so he's got away with that. But that's the bad things happen for the Canadians. However, we've just had a group wiped out. I've also got to see what happened to their junior leader as well. So let me just put the Germans to one side. Take off that shock because he doesn't hold shock. What's happened to him? 6 is he is lightly wounded also. So that is going to be bad things happen. That's a section wipes out, bad things happen, and also a hit on him as well. So let's just do these bad things happen. Do the Canadians first of all. So for B, they are currently on 6 on their force morale. So their bad things happen. First of all, a 5 for a junior leader wounded is -1 point, so that takes them down to 5. The Germans though, junior leader wounded first of all. Let's roll that. A 5. Oh, that's just literally rolled that. 1 point off. That's them down to 0. Game over. But let's just see what that extra one was from the section destroyed. Let's roll that. in there. That's a 6. That is team section wiped out. That is another 2 points. So they are -2 points. So that's destroyed the Germans' defence, and the game over. Canadians win. They've cleared the sugar factory. Okay then, let's have a look at state of play at the end of the game. That was quite obviously a Canadian victory. So we've got the rifles here on this side. They'd just broken into the trenches, and they were probably going to start running down these trenches and mopping up down here anyway. Unfortunately for them, they had lost their bomber section. They would have been useful at this point. The Germans were just holding on with this Zug here, getting smaller and smaller though, and both the big man and the little man were both, the 2 big men, should I say, the junior leader and senior leader, were both wounded, and they were just taking lots of shock. I don't think they were going to hang around too long. The men of the match, the bombers over here, the Canadian bombers that charged in and destroyed this section against all odds. Good for them. Obviously there's only a junior leader left there who is wounded, but then also lieutenant as well. He probably deserves a mention in dispatches, if nothing else, just because of the fact that he led these men from the front, got them right down to the trench and pushed forward. The rifle grenadiers over at the back for B company, B platoon should I say, didn't really do a great deal. They only came into action right at the very end. Their bombers, I got them out of the line of sight as quick as possible. But over here we've got the 2 LMGs bringing up the rear really where they should be, to provide covering fire as those attacks went in. And we also got the rifle grenadiers over here as well, who didn't move, who didn't need to move because that's not what they were supposed to do. Sergeant over here did a good job pushing forward as well. And the other thing as well was, one thing I always forget is using your chain of command dice to move forward, those jumping off points to get you down that table, and that's what I did there, and I think that worked pretty well. Otherwise it would have been a slow slog for the bombers to get up there as well, basically just charging as many men as you can up the front, and then just get those jumping off points up there. But hopefully that has shown you a different style of First World War wargaming. That it's not all men walking in lines into German machine gun fire. It certainly is an active and very dynamic game. Well, Chain of Command certainly is anyway, and the First World War certainly is as a war game. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have done, let me know in the comments. Check out my Patreon and also channel memberships as well, where you'll get early access to videos which are ad free as well. And also, if you haven't already, do subscribe. So thanks once again for watching, and look out for the next Storm of Steel video.